triple blow to Trump. Courts block defunding, firings, and media crackdown in one day. In a major legal rebuke to President Donald Trump, 3 separate court rulings on Tuesday stalled key actions by his administration, raising serious questions about executive overreach and the limits of presidential authority. Federal judges intervened to halt the administration's efforts to defund AmeriCorps, block funding to Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, and abruptly fire board members of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, all within a matter of hours. The developments underscore a growing legal backlash against unilateral decisions from the White House, many of which bypassed congressional authority. Public broadcasting firings, temporarily blocked. The CPB, which manages public broadcasters such as NPR and PBS, filed a lawsuit after 3 board members, Laura Ross, Thomas Rothman, and Diane Kaplan, were informed their positions had been terminated, effective immediately. These individuals were legally appointed by former President Joe Biden to serve fixed 6-year terms confirmed by the Senate. A federal judge granted a temporary restraining order preventing their removal until a hearing scheduled for May 14th. The CPB argues that the president does not possess legal authority to fire members of independent federal boards at will, citing precedent protecting such agencies from politically motivated dismissals. The administration has challenged this view, asking the Supreme Court to overturn Humphrey's executor, the landmark decision limiting presidential firing powers over independent agency officials. AmeriCorps defunding, halted by coalition of states. Simultaneously, a coalition of 24 states and the District of Columbia filed a lawsuit in Maryland against the Trump administration's severe reduction of AmeriCorps funding and staffing. AmeriCorps, a federal volunteer service program, provides critical support across disaster relief, education, and public health initiatives. Since January, the White House has rescinded grants and reduced AmeriCorps staffing by 85%. The administration claims the program mismanaged $45 million in 2024, justifying its rollback. However, attorneys general argue that such funding was explicitly approved by Congress and cannot be removed unilaterally. California Attorney General Rob Bonta emphasized the human impact, stating, "By abruptly canceling critical grants and gutting AmeriCorps' workforce, the administration is dismantling the very infrastructure that helps communities thrive." Maryland's AG echoed these concerns, vowing to defend constitutional checks and balances. Court orders restoration of international broadcast funding. In a third legal setback, U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth ordered the administration to release $12 million in congressionally approved funding to Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. The broadcaster, part of the U.S. Agency for Global Media and headquartered in Prague, was facing financial uncertainty following an executive order from President Trump in March, aiming to defund U.S.-sponsored international media. Despite the White House's efforts to withhold these funds, Congress had authorized the budget through September. The judge's ruling compels immediate disbursement, reinforcing the principle that only Congress controls federal spending. Political and legal fallout. Expected, the triple rulings expose a larger battle between the executive branch and the judiciary over the extent of presidential power. President Trump, now in his second term, has issued over 140 executive orders in his first 100 days, many of which are expected to trigger further legal challenges. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly defended the administration's actions, asserting the president's legal right to restore accountability to the executive branch. However, critics argue that such moves represent an attempt to purge federal institutions of dissenting voices and circumvent long-standing legal norms.